Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Soul-u-tions Podcast. My name is Tara Simkins, and I am your host. In the last podcast episode, I promised you a part 2. So if you listen to the last episode, I know that you have been waiting to hear the second step in the process of moving through our anger and actually getting to the point where you ultimately can release your resentment. So today I'm going to share with you the 3 tools that I teach all my clients and the ladies in the lab over at the Soul-u-tions Labs to use. And I think these 3 tools will make a huge difference in your life. And if you're a podcast listener, 2 of the 3 tools are not going to be new to you. But what may be new to you is using them in this particular situation, because I want to make sure that you are not overwhelmed with so many tools and that your mental load is even heavier because you're constantly trying to remember, oh my gosh, what tool do I apply in this situation? Instead, what I like to do is to keep the tools very, very simple and show you how to use them in the specific situations that you encounter in your life. And that way you just get better and better at using the tools. You become a master at them, and you become adept at using them no matter what comes up in your life. So enjoy the introduction, and I'll meet you on the other side.
Einstein said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." Most everyone in the world is solving their problems the wrong way. Our problems come from our thinking, and we can solve them with our thinking. So whether you're at your lowest, just trying to grow, or whether you are trying to sustain growth over your lifetime, join us as we push the boundaries of our current thinking and redefine how we find Soul-u-tions.
The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities.
Well, the last episode was a long one, I must say. I listened to it myself and I thought, Tara, you probably could have cut out some of those things. So I just wanted to thank you for sticking with me when I tend to ramble. I felt like there were some shaggy dog elements to it. So I'm going to keep this one tighter for us. And if you haven't listened to the previous episode, after you listen to this, please go back. It's the origin story of this particular episode. And I think you will enjoy the leisurely, conversational, rambling nature of it. I hope what you will feel like when you listen to that episode is that you're in a room with me, that we are actually having a conversation. And like people do that enjoy one another's company, sometimes somebody rambles a little bit. So hopefully you will enjoy that and it will feel familiar to you and also just maybe like a warm hug. So last time we talked about anger and women and how we have been socialized and conditioned to be polite, ladylike, all buttoned up. And in that messaging, what we missed is, hey, sometimes you can get really angry, and maybe instead of duking it out, there's some other ways that you can handle your anger, but that it's appropriate and it's not an emotion that you need to be afraid of. In fact, it's a really, really powerful emotion. I think anger is a centurion that tells us, oh my goodness, I have either crossed a boundary or someone else has crossed a boundary. Or it also gives me energy to say or do something that I might have been holding back on. So anger is nothing to be afraid of. I think anger is a great emotion to befriend. And speaking of befriending, that's what we talked about in the last episode. When you have a situation that arises unexpectedly, and you find yourself just flooded with rage, anger, and then the inevitable tears. And I talk about why when we're angry, we cry as women in that episode too. So I'm not going to go into that here. But that whole episode is about the process of befriending your anger. And I shared with you a specific example in my life of a couple of years ago, how I befriended my anger from the moment the situation arose until 2 or 3 hours, over the course of 2 to 3 hours, to allow myself to show up in a situation composed, but with my anger honored, befriended, intact, but not consuming me. And I was able to go on to enjoy myself and have a good time. Now, this episode, what we're going to talk about is what happens after that moment, the moment where you have to befriend, honor, take care of yourself, recognize and radically accept that you're angry, and move on to handling a situation that you have to handle next in your life. But after you have the immediacy of that situation, comes to an end, you do need to revisit and take care of your anger, because we don't want to just leave it there. We don't want to suppress it. We don't want to ignore it, because when we do that, what inevitably happens is that our anger builds and builds and builds inside of us. And it has to be let out. It needs to be processed. It needs to be metabolized. Our emotions really do need to be metabolized, because we carry them in our body, just like all the other things that we have to metabolize. You even have to metabolize that glass of wine that you're looking forward to tonight. Our bodies are designed to metabolize our food, our drink, and our emotions. They're made for it. But if you are clenching and cramping and ignoring it and impeding the metabolic process of your emotions, then they will build up and they will come out in least expected moments, and often the moments we don't want them to come out in. So how do I personally move through my emotions like anger, resentment, rage, frustration, any negative emotion that I have? It could be jealousy, it could be envy. They're just all of those emotions that we really don't like to admit that we have, but we do because we're human. So there are 3 tools that I use, and I use these tools over and over and over again over a period of time that I have pre-decided and predefined, to just allow myself the opportunity to check in to see, okay, when I started this process, and I always do this, I take the scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being just a very low amount of anger, and 10 being ding, 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 the highest amount of anger that anybody can handle, and that you are in the exploding, raging rapid stage of your anger. So in a situation that I shared in the previous podcast, I would say I was definitely at a 9 on my anger scale. And the idea is to move closer and closer to a 5, to being in a neutral state. And by that, I mean where my anger is present, but it isn't informing the conduct, the decisions, the behaviors that I engage in. It isn't subconsciously hijacking everything that I think and do. It's just working at a very healthy balance in the background. And I think your anger could go down to maybe a level 3, but we do want to have, and this isn't a really mind-blowing concept. I remember the first time I learned this concept. We don't want to engage with the people in the world and the world itself, the situations it presents us with actually a 0 on the anger scale. Anger is very healthy. Like I said, it helps me set my boundaries. It helps me ask for boundaries with other people. And it just is a really good thing to give you the energy to maybe say some harder things for you to say because you're just not practiced in saying, hey, that doesn't work for me, or even no to a situation. Healthy anger actually is what gives you the oomph to be able to say, and you might call it confidence even, to say, yep, no, that doesn't work for me, and then to not feel guilty about it. So that's kind of the goal here. But if we're starting at a 9, that 5 or 3 is a very, very long distance from where we are. And so we want to normalize the metabolic process of anger here. And so I want to say that I'm going to start by giving myself, especially with something at a 9, I'm going to say that could take you a couple of years to fully metabolize, to go from the place of just fuming and spewing lava level of anger when you see a person, to seething in their presence, to avoiding them, to eventually getting to the place after 2 years that when you see the person, you can honestly and authentically approach them with your hand out and say, hi, it's really nice to see you. That is the goal for certain relationships that we have. Now, here's my attorney disclaimer, the asterisk. We don't have to do that for all relationships. If this person who has angered you feels threatening in any way, shape, or form, please, 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 please do not think that you need to go through all of the hoops and processes of pulling yourself down to a level 5 or a level 3. But if a person is going to be in our lives casually, like this person was, I may see this person a few times a year, and I know that I'm going to interact with them. And so I'm going to take the responsibility on my end to be in control of my own anger and my metabolic process. And this person is not a person that I really want to carry around that resentment for, because I need that energy that resentment takes to keep alive. There are other relationships in our life, I think, that are, family members that things happen and we say things that maybe our best selves wouldn't say, or friendships that we get frustrated with or we might get angry about. But as you get older and older and you realize how hard it is to really make good friends, you may, instead of just dropping that friend, it might be worth it for you to say, maybe I'm not going to keep them in the inner circle so close to me, but I am going to move them out to an acquaintance. Like, I really would like to get to the point where when I see this person, I am not seething. I am not feeding an old story. I don't feel the need to look over my shoulder or scan the room to see if they're there or if they see me. I don't have to constantly just be haunted by my own thoughts when I'm in a conversation with someone else and hear the womp, womp, womp from Charlie Brown's teacher. in my brain going on because the story that I'm telling is playing as loudly as the person I'm speaking with. What I want is to be able to know that I'm going to attend an event, that person, expect that that person will be there, and be so authentically grounded and relieved from carrying and feeding that resentment, just knowing I have moved on and be able to stick my hand out and say, hey, it really is nice to see you, and truly mean it. So here are the 3 tools. And again, I want you to set a time frame. And 2 years may sound like a lot to you, and it may sound like way too soon in some other situations for you. And that's okay. Just pick a time frame that works for you. If I sometimes will pick a 30-day time frame, or a 90-day time frame, or a 6-month time frame. And that's just, let me start practicing these tools and let me see how it goes. And let me check in with myself at the end of this time, having used these tools consistently. And then I'll have a better idea of, this is going to take a little bit longer than I thought. And truly, that happens a lot. And in this particular situation, I remember at the year mark, bumping into this person, and I could feel that sense of vibration in my chest. I could feel a quickening of my heartbeat. I could feel, I don't know if I would call it shame or embarrassment. I think I would call it self-consciousness. I could feel a sense of being self-conscious around this person. And I noticed it was kind of like a hangover. You're like, I don't want to feel that when I wake up in the morning anymore. So maybe we could call it an anger hangover, and just realize I don't want to carry this around anymore. So I began to look forward to the next time to see this person and not having even that type of reaction. All right. So here are the 3 tools. The first tool is a tool I do for me that feeds me, and this is the meta prayer, or the loving kindness prayer. Now, I have done lots of workshops and even podcasts on the meta prayer. So if you really want to deeper dive into that, just email me at tara@tarasimkins.com, and I'm happy to send you the Meta Prayer podcast link. And that goes for any of these other tools. I'm more than happy to do that. So the Meta Prayer is a loving kindness prayer, and I discovered it through some Buddhist teachers that I was reading. But it begins with yourself, and then we are going to first extend loving kindness to ourselves. And then we're going to extend it out in concentric circles until we get to the person that we're having a really challenging time with in the outer circle. So you just start with yourself and you repeat. There are many variations of this, so I'm just going to share this one. May I be well. May I be loved. May I be happy. And then you repeat that phrase 3 times. May I be well. May I be loved. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be loved. May I be happy. And then you call to mind someone who is very easy to love in your life. And that's the first circle out from yourself. And you extend the same blessing to that person. May she be well. May she be loved. May she be happy. And you repeat that one 3 times. May she be loved. May she be well. May she be loved. May she be happy. May she be well. May she be loved. May she be happy. And then you go out a circle further, and that's with an acquaintance. This is somebody you really enjoy bumping into. You know the person. They make you smile, and it's the person you think, I wish I saw them more. And you extend the same blessing to that person, repeating it 3 times. The next circle is someone you're pretty neutral about. There are millions of people I can think of. There are people I run into, and truly like this person that I had the situation with in the previous podcast, I would say this is a neutral person for me, and I wanted to return him to that neutral position in my life. So you extend it, may he be well, may he be loved, may he be happy. You could also say, may he be well, may he feel loved, may he feel happy. So you repeat that 3 times. The next circle is to the stranger. Someone I always think about, the new person I bump into in the Publix, and you extend it to them. And then the final circle is the person you're having the challenge with. And so what happens is this sense of meta, the feeling of loving kindness, because your attention is directed to generating it within yourself and for yourself and outward, you begin to pick up some momentum in this. And with each one, you feel that sense of metta or loving kindness building within yourself, so that by the time you reach that person that you have the very harsh words and the intense feeling about, there's enough of this feeling inside of you that it just can flow out to him. It's almost as if it's a natural overflowing of the feeling, like you just have enough in you, and it's easy to extend to that person, to just flow to that person. So you bring that person to mind, and you just repeat the words, may he be well, may he be loved, may he be happy. May he be well, may he be loved, may he be happy. May he be well, may he be loved, may he be happy. And then you say the blessing to all sentient beings. I think about the stars, the universe, the Milky Way, the angels and archangels, whatever feels comfortable for you. You extend metta to them, and then you bring it all back into yourself. And when I'm doing metta in the beginning with someone specific, I like to do that every day, and perhaps even 2 times a day, when I wake up in the morning and before I go to bed at night. And it is, again, for yourself and not forcing you to extend anything that you don't have towards this other person, but just being able to allow this feeling just to flow out of you and ripple out of you naturally. So that's my tool number 1, is metta. All right, tool number 2, and this is the 25-5-3 tool that I teach in a free masterclass. If you have never grabbed my free masterclass, then you should definitely. This is the best time to do it. You're thinking about it. It's on the brain, and that's on my website, tarasimkins.com. No P in Simkins, Simkins. And when you do that and you get on my mailing list, you give me your email and I give you this masterclass. And that is simply a tool which I have developed for helping you make sure that you are actually identifying the problem and that you aren't jumping to solve the wrong problem. In the intro to this podcast, I quote Einstein that says that most people are solving their problems the wrong way. Most people are trying to solve the problem on the same level of thinking in which the problem was created. In order to truly solve a problem, we have to lift up. We have to raise our level of consciousness. We have to lift our level of thinking. And these truly, when I say that, it isn't just woo-woo or just, I don't know, intellectual, blah, blah, blah. No, from a neurological standpoint, we are moving the problem-oriented part of our brain is in that older evolutionary part of our brain. It jumps online quickly. It's why we're all alive today. We need it to be quick and fast and reactionary. But we also have this. We have evolved to have executive functions, and that is the newest part of our brain, and that's where the solutions are. So we have to manually move ourselves from that problem level thinking to the solution level thinking. And we do this by using this very specific tool that is just simply math. We start with what's working in the situation. So you will take the situation involving this person, and instead of jumping to the heat of the moment, you would say, okay, let me just zoom out, look at a bigger picture, and I'm going to challenge myself to think of 25 things that were working in the situation. Now, some of the things that may be working is I didn't punch him in the nose. So write that down. Or I maintained eye contact, or I didn't have a heart attack, or I didn't set fire to his pants. I mean, you can name whatever the restraint that you were able to apply in the situation that worked for you. But you want to acknowledge and identify all of that restraint that you used, your ability to form sentences and to even if you cried, we talked about in the first one, that was just your system working. And so after you challenge yourself to the 25 things that worked, then you're going to move to, okay, what were 5 things in this situation that didn't work? Now, this is also going to require you to see a little bigger picture, because you might just want to say, well, just those 5 words that he said to me, that's what didn't work. Well, if that's how you feel in the beginning, then just put down those 5 words that he said to you. That would count. Each one would be one of the 5 things that didn't work. But as you begin to use this on a daily basis, you're going to move into some other things that didn't work. And you might even eventually, over the course of metabolizing your anger, get to the point of something I mentioned in the previous podcast, which was like, I got really defensive. And when we are defensive, we know that that is subconsciously interpreted by the other person as an attack. So this enables you to just, again, begin to metabolize the anger, to lift out, and just you can feel the neutralizing of the situation. At least all of my attention is not focused on what I previously thought was the singular problem. And then you move to the 3 of the 25-5-3, and that's to think about, okay, if this were to happen today, what are 3 things that I would do differently? Or the next time I see this person, if it's someone you are going to bump into, while you're metabolizing this anger and resentment, you might think of, okay, what are 3 very small, very doable things that I'm going to do the next time I see them, I walk into a room. And that might be the ability to just acknowledge them. I'm just thinking of just a little head nod, your eyes cross, whatever, lock is, I think, the word, your eyes meet, and you just acknowledge them. And you've pre-planned that now. So that's helping you diffuse the situation. So I would do that for the first week or so every day. And then I would move to doing that exercise once a week. I like to do that exercise every Friday. It's an easy thing to do on Fridays. All right, now this is the last tool. And I have talked about this before, but I kind of come and go on when I need to use this tool. It is a fabulous tool. This is a tool that Byron Katie uses and teaches. And Byron Katie is Byronkatie. And her website is thework.com. And she has something called a Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. And I highly recommend getting on thework.com and downloading the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet when you have a high-level situation with someone. Why does this work? Well, I can remember the first time I was introduced to this, I was like, oh, I don't judge people. That's not a very enlightened, mature thing to do. I wanted to feel a little superior and that, I don't really do that. But here's the truth. We all judge. We judge each other all the time. And why do we do that? Not because we're bad people, because we are people. And our brains are wired to judge people. Again, it's just an evolutionary function of our brain. And instead of pretending that we don't judge people, just the getting honest with ourselves and being able to judge the heck out of someone with a series of 6 questions that you are led through on this worksheet, it turns your rumination into a meditation. Truly, you go from ruminating and spiraling and building the case all the time about why you were wronged by this person into a much more disciplined practice of admitting that you're judging the person and actually getting down on paper, giving yourselves that cognitive distance between yourself and the problem. And you can see how that begins to lift your level of thinking. It puts you into more of a third-party observer position where you can actually write it down and see the words in your handwriting to each of those 6 prompts. Now, I'm carrying my notes for today's. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see this. This is on an envelope that someone left for me. Now, I highly recommend doing the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet on a piece of scrap paper like this that you can tear up, throw away. If you really want to ritualize it, you could burn it. You don't need to keep this energy around you in a journal. You certainly don't want other people to find it because sometimes you're going to be doing a worksheet on some of the people that mean the most to you in the world. And although what we're trying to do is take out our mental trash, take out the emotional residue from the situation and the anger. If we don't empty the trash can, things start to stink around the house. And so this is something I highly recommend doing on a scrap piece of paper and tossing it. You don't need to save these. They are only, a processing utensil. So those are the 3 tools. And truly, I'm going to let you do your homework, do a deeper dive into each one of them. If you're new at any of them, don't try to do all 3 at once. Just pick the one that resonates with you the most. When I say a meta prayer, a 25-5-3, or Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, just pick one of them and do that one for 30 days. And then maybe the next time you're upset with someone, maybe do that one again. And then another time that you're upset with someone, then maybe add on another tool. The whole idea about this is just to begin to live your life in a place where you can allow this beautiful soul light that you have been given. It's a God-given gift. Whatever this imprint and signature of this holy essence that resides within you, we want that to shine from you as bright as it can because that's the gift you came to this earth to bring to everyone. And holding on to unresolved anger and unresolved resentment, frustration, jealousy, envy, any of them, all that's doing is dampening your light and stealing it from the rest of us and really dampening your experience of this life and what you're able to feel from other people. I mean, it really does build a wall around your heart that kind of makes it harder for your love to go out to others and harder for their love and appreciation to come back to you. I really hope you will use these tools, and I would love to hear from you if you do. Again, Tara@TaraSimkins.com. If you give it a try and it helps you, please let me know. That is just so meaningful to me. If you have a friend you know is struggling with something, would you please forward this podcast episode to them and just say, hey, I know we were talking about that hard thing that you went through. Just sending this to you for what it's worth. Maybe it might help shift something. And that's just such a lovely thing to do for a friend. I know that we think that when we listen to our friends vent that we're doing them a favor, but after a while we really aren't. What that does is it just kind of deepens the groove of those neural pathways. It makes it harder to let go of after a while. And so, something like this might help. It could also be someone, maybe you're actually tired of hearing them talk about this story. And what an easy way, without saying, hey, I'm getting tired of this. What an easy way to just say, hey, I was thinking about you and that thing. Give this a listen. And then if they bring it up the next time, you get to say, oh man, did you listen to that podcast episode, the Soul-u-tions Podcast episode? And if they say yes, then y'all can move into talking about these tools. What did you think? Which one was your favorite? I've applied it in this way. And if they say no, that's a great place to hold your own boundary with your own healthy anger. And you could say, all right, well, we're going to table this discussion until you listen to that podcast. And now you're putting the ball in their court and giving them a choice. Like, okay, I'm here to, hear you out on things as a friend or a family member, but also you can't just dump on me all the time. Do some of this work and then we'll move through. And that's just going to lift up the level of your relationship. Well, I thank you for being here. I thank you for listening. Please make sure you forward this to a friend and that you have subscribed to the Soul-u-tions Podcast. It's a super easy thing to do. While we're finished, just hit the subscribe button and you'll get the next one, which I'm already working on. In fact, I'm going to record it. It's going to be a quickie, and I can't wait for that to pop into your notification spots. Until next time, thanks.
I ain't done living the life I'm meant to lead. And I ain't done loving the ones who cared for me. The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities. The left and the right and some faith in the fight in your